They need to take a close look at the language in the TA to make sure that Teamsters are no longer bullied, harassed, lied about, and to get some protections in the contract language.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
731, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, appreciate you having me on. This is Jeff Moore, the Teamster teacher from TikTok, and I am from Jackson, Tennessee. It's just West Tennessee.
Jeff, thanks for calling in. So what are your thoughts on the contract and anything else that that you think is important to talk about during as people are kind of mulling over the TA?
Yeah, so one of the main things I feel like, just to preface before, because I actually have a few contract language things I did want to bring up on the show, but I think it's important to, just before I get into that, I just want to just champion the whole idea of voting to everybody. And for anyone that's listening, like if you're a yes voter, if you're a no voter, like you are still a brother. So like I see a lot of attacking and whatnot online. And like, first thing is like, we got to remember we're all on the same team. You can be a yes voter and a no voter and still be pro-union all the way, in my personal opinion. So like, before I dive in, I just want to say that like, language is kind of where I come from on my stance, and education. So like, I won't even mention if I'm voting yes or no, because I think that's irrelevant. But I think the details of the language are almost, if not as important as the money, because as we've seen in the past with this company, when it comes to a language battle, they tend to find the loopholes and win a lot of arguments over the union members, just because they're so good at working through the language and finding loopholes. Their lawyer staff is probably absolutely insane with how many and what they're paid to do to go in there and figure out those loopholes. But for me personally, like just an example of that language barrier, and I actually really appreciate what the negotiating team did. I do believe that they went in there and attacked this thing, and they went in there and they got a very great contract. But there are a couple things that I am concerned about, if you don't mind me sharing a couple.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I have an issue with is the scheduling for the Tuesday through Saturday work. So in the current contract, they're only allowed to have like 25% of the routes in on a Saturday. And so right now, under the new agreement, according to what I'm seeing, there's no limit to the number of Tuesday through Saturday routes they can have. And all of the regular package car drivers from this current contract, which would include myself, can be forced into a Tuesday through Saturday schedule if they can't fill it with what they have already. So that's like something I feel like language-wise, in my personal opinion, it's blurry and can be interpreted a couple different ways. But for me, it's looking like that is not good for the membership, as well as just a small language thing for me. The elimination of the 4-6 punch was a very big strike issue. But in the language, it mentions regular package car drivers. It doesn't say anything about combo drivers, air drivers, part-time. So I just wonder how that's going to play out, and if that's something that has been noticed by anyone else.
Yeah. That sounds like that's going to be an important issue, and being able to enforce the language that you do have is so important. That's something that I've seen stressed on the Roswell Hub and the biweekly grievance. Them talking about we can have any language at all in the contract, but if we don't force it in our locals, if we don't enforce it, then they're gonna abuse it and ignore it and all that kind of stuff. So.
Absolutely, and they're very, very good at, I'm sure at the table they're even figuring out how to work the language in their favor, right, for both sides. And here's another one I'm bringing up that I'm not so sure if everyone has read into. Maybe maybe I'm looking into this wrong, but when it comes to the upgraded version of the ride-alongs, where the management are able to do ride-alongs, they have to give us now a 24-hour notice, which is great. Let us know, hey, tomorrow we're going to ride with you for X reason. The problem is that I'm not seeing where the language has been updated to give them a certain amount of ride-alongs per year, which right now, we have a limit on how many times. So one of my most popular TikToks was on our lunch break, I was on like my 5th ride-along of the year, and I made a TikTok about it. And after that TikTok, I filed a grievance against the company saying that, hey, here's the spot where it says you can only do 2 and no one else can get back on the truck with you until this grievance has been heard. So I haven't had any problems since. And I worry if like this new language, I don't see anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I hadn't heard anybody talking about that. I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. I mean, just some of the things I've been digging through, ultimately, here's the, if I could close with anything, and I'm not trying to lean one way or the other. If anything, I just want to reach out to as many people as I can, educate them on what's in here, what's not in there. I would like to, I think our Department of Secretary of Labor, Julie Sue, when asked about this, said it best, the people, and I want to put emphasis on the people, will decide what's best. So I don't care how you vote, but get your ballot and send it in, but also do a little bit of homework beforehand. This is This is a true, if anything, this is as true as democracy gets right here, right? We don't have to worry about an electoral college superseding voting process. Like you, as a member, and this is why I champion unions, can do your own homework. This directly applies to you, and do your homework, cast your vote. Just know what you're voting for.
Can you tell us what is actually? Do you know the procedure for voting? What that's going to look like this year?
I have heard about electronic ballots. However, in the past, I know that there is a mail-in ballot, and the ballots are coded. I'm told that it's incredibly difficult to falsify. I know that I have read through the recent reports on the votings, and they do post those by detailed percentage by local. You can even go in and see what the percentage of the membership that showed up versus and then the percentage of the membership that voted yes and then no by local. So as far as I know for sure, you'll definitely get a mail-in ballot. It'll be coded. You got to send it back in, and then I believe they're saying August 22nd. If I've heard that right, will be the deadline for that.
Jeff from Tennessee, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
We'll bring in the next caller from a 202 area code.
Adam, Jacob, this is Captain Green. I'm calling you from an undisclosed location overseas. Can you hear me okay?
Captain Green, calling from an undisclosed location. I can hear you.
Great. I'm a former UPS captain of 20 years and also a 22-year veteran of the United States Air Force. And I have firsthand experience of being ruthlessly targeted by UPS, having coerced employees that had substance abuse problems to lie about me and make up false stories because I was targeted for my commitment to enforcing safety and security of the airline and the flying public. And I'm with Richard Hooker out of Local 623. I've been following Richard's work. He seems like a very dynamic man. And he said that it's much bigger than about economics. He said that the contract is more about sustaining solid contract language that'll protect UPSers and the Teamsters from any 18 U.S. Code crimes that UPS is committing on a regular basis, which would include violence, retaliation, deceit, dishonesty, and they're doing this with impunity. And Sean O'Brien and both UPS and both Bob Travis of the IPA who alleges solidarity with the Teamsters. They know that any TA language is garbage without these mandatory protections. The caller from California made a good point in that, we need the job protections. How can we be assured that we might not lose our jobs, just like the last caller said? We can't be assured that these things won't happen because we don't have regulatory agencies that are actually protecting the American worker. In my case, I filed a whistleblower complaint to the U.S. Department of Labor. Paul McDevitt, who is the inspector, who also inspected Carlene Pettit's case at Delta Airlines, he blatantly falsified false facts. He didn't conduct a single element of the required 8 elements in an IG investigation. And then he sent it to the FAA, and the FAA questioned why they hadn't received any evidence. And then he gave some lame excuse that we had a temp secretary, and they rubber stamped it. So I never got honest adjudication. And now I'm forced overseas. I've got about 5,000 hours now in a Boeing 777 working for a company overseas, forced out of my own country. But the point is this coercion of employees, troubled employees that are in trouble with the company. Jimmy Lamb case, Joe Tesney. Let's have a closer dig at what really happened in those cases in San Francisco and Birmingham, Alabama. I actually talked to the pastor of Joe Tesney, and he told me that Joe was a fine man. He loved his job. He loved his family. He loved his faith. But he said UPS was stalking him and literally walking on the heels of his shoes, intimidating him and threatening him, which eventually he snapped. And this is what happened in the Lamb case, too. Lamb went into the San Francisco Gateway. He specifically targeted people that had been coerced and lied about him because this was the only way for him, in his mind, to address his grievances. And that's absolutely unacceptable behavior. But this is the corporate culture that UPS is practicing on a daily basis with impunity, and the American worker can never get their case in front of an honest court of law or at a level of the Department of Labor. And the reason that is because, for instance, Julie Sue right now, I believe Julie Sue is going to be an excellent potential Secretary of Labor, unlike Eugene Scalia, who was the son of former Supreme Court Justice Scalia. Right. We can't get honest adjudication because they put their cronies in there that are against labor. But now we have Julie Sue, who's trying to get confirmed, but the dark money donors, to include companies like UPS, don't want her confirmed because that way they can continue these acts of horrific workplace violence with impunity. So what I'm trying to emphasize here is that the Teamsters need to take a close look at the TA language. Tony Coleman, who is formerly an attorney for Frost, Brown, and Todd, now at Dinsmore and Scholl, he is the master of disaster that has been targeting UPSers for years, and he's the guy that fabricated and manufactured the false case against me for being a perfect UPS employee, over 20 years of service, perfect training record, perfect flight record, enforced safety, enforced security. I was just unhappy with the fact that we had a yellow union that was exclusively company controlled that didn't enforce the contract. So, the Teamsters need to take a close look at this TA. They need to take a close look at the language in the TA. And if, in fact, they're going to do exactly what Richard Hooker said and to, make sure that Teamsters are no longer bullied, harassed, lied about, troubled employees are coerced to lie about others, and to get some protections in the contract language where grievances are actually heard rather than whimsically dismissed. What are your thoughts on that, Jacob?
I think, I think that's all. It would be pretty difficult to argue against somebody saying that they need to read the contract that they're going to be voting on.
Sometimes UPS and guys like Tony Coleman and some of our union leaders, especially, I can speak firsthand of the IPA. The IPA is one of the most corrupt unions. We've got more dead bodies at UPS. I just had a 2-hour conversation this afternoon trying to help another brother that was targeted for reporting fatigue concerns. And I'm sure fatigue is an issue with UPS employees, especially the feeder drivers and the everyday drivers. But in fatigue at UPS Airline, they target pilots that come in fatigue. They accuse you of some other unrelated issue, lying about calling in fatigue. And the next thing you know, you're in front of a disciplinary hearing and the union's dropping a dime on you. And then the next day you're fired. And because the fired employee is a better employee, because it puts fear in the membership, just like I see what appears to be maybe fear to actually strike by our Teamsters brothers and sisters and to reject a TA that doesn't have language that protects them. I don't want to take too much more of your time, guys. You're doing a great job. We appreciate everything you're doing. I watch you all the time. At some point, I would love to share the tentacles of the diabolic and horrific lengths that UPS went to target me and to manufacture false facts and fabricate a case that was based completely on fraud. And to this day, 10 years later, and after having spent $500,000 and losing everything I had to get my day in court and to file briefs all the way to the Supreme Court, to never have my case heard and enter a court of law to challenge these criminals, I would love to share with you the details. And for the listeners, you can follow me on Twitter. My call sign is Truth, the letter B, the word told, truth be told, number 4, all. Truth be told for all. I'm rooting for you guys, and I hope you can defeat these criminals and you get what you're entitled to. You're not taking anything away from this company. Teamsters are earning whatever they get in the contract, and they should get more. And don't think for a second you're taking it, because you've already earned it.
Hey, before you go, where did you say you were calling from again?
An undisclosed location.
See, I wanted to see if he was going to mess up and tell me.
You know, I have to say an undisclosed location, because ever since UPS unlawfully terminated me, and I still have yet to get my day in court, because UPS has spent $6 million to make sure I never get my day in court. They blackballed me. I worked at Korean Airlines for a period of time. They found out where I was, and then the next thing I knew, my training was stopped. My training partners, my partner's training was stopped. Now my training partner, UPS knew they screwed him over. Now he's a manager at UPS at the Anchorage Gateway in Alaska. But they blackballed me. They lied about me, and they've been trying to keep me unemployed so I can't continue the fight. It's sick. And, you know, if I could just get this case in a court of law, you know, the facts in themselves, I had 3 pilots that had undisclosed DUIs to the FAA. Michael Starnes and Mark Hirsch were their names, and another guy by the name of Mark McDermott and Peyton Cook. All 3 of these guys lied about me. We have overwhelming evidence beyond reasonable doubt. We have audio files, transcripts, we have emails. We have mountains of evidence, 6,000 pages of evidence, and UPS knows we have it, and they will not let me into a court of law. They've rigged this fight from every level of adjudication, from the district court to the circuit court to the Supreme Court and the Department of Labor. And the Department of Labor, I filed the whistleblower complaint. The investigator
Captain Green, I do apologize, but we're going to have to let you go. We have a few more callers on the line, and we're about to have to wrap up. But definitely, hope that you're able to call in at some point and talk to us some more about that. Yeah, I mean, it sounds
understood,
like
guys.
terrible.
All right, well, good luck and keep up the good work. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, brother.
Appreciate it. Good one.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.